fractions, decimals, and percents. Oh my! These are the things that you're going to be writing in your notebook today with the date, table of contents, this thing. We started discussing percents with our vocabulary terms in class. And in the video today, I just want to introduce more of that along with decimals and fractions and how they relate to percents. Okay, so if you need to at any time, pause the video because I'm moving on. So my first examples are going to deal with fractions and how we relate those to percents. So let's say I have all these fractions up here, and I want you to be able to tell me the percent that would be equivalent to each one of these fractions. That would mean the same thing as that fractional amount. So when I think of percent, I see a fraction, I think right away towards a test, a quiz in a class. Like in this particular fraction, I got 45 correct out of 50 total questions. Or out of 50 points, I received 45 points. So I didn't get 100%. How do I know that? Because it wasn't 50 out of 50. It was 45 out of 50. It was something lower than that. So the question is, did I get all the way down to a 10% on this? Did I get an F? Well, no. You can reasonably see that I did not get an F because 45 is more than half of 50. So how do we get what percent this is if in class I said percents, right? Percent means a ratio that compares a number to 100. So it's something out of 100. So if I look back at my fractions here, this is not going to be 45% because it's not 45 out of 100. So how can we make 45 out of 50 be an equivalent value but out of 100? So I can get this percent sign here. So how do we do it? Well, I need to make it out of 100. I want this to be the same thing as something out of 100. So what's nice in this one is we have 50 to work with. So how can I convert the 50 to 100? By either multiplying or dividing. I'm going to multiply by 2. Meaning I'm going to have to take 45 and do the same thing to keep these ratios equivalent. So 45 times 2, to do the computation correctly, is 90. So 45 out of 50 would be equivalent to 90 over 100, or now we can just use the percent sign, 90%. Okay, let's go to, there is one up here that is super simple to figure out the percent on because it's already out of 100. This one down here. At a 100-point test, I got 42 points given to me, so my percent I can get straight away is 42%. Because it's already out of 100. It's already what I want. All right, now out of the 3 that are left up here, one of them is going to be simpler than the other 2. Can you figure out which one is going to be the simplest here, the most mild version, to convert it to a percent? Let's see, it is this one, 3 out of 10. Because I see the 10, it's not 100 yet, but I can easily figure out how to make it 100. So this is not equivalent to 3%, and why not? Because it's not out of 100 yet. So I'm going to need to convert this to a ratio that is out of 100, and in order to do that, I need to relate the 10 with the 100, and I'm going to take 10 times 10 to get 100, so I'm going to have to do the same thing here and take 3 times 10 and get 30. So this 3 out of 10 is what percent? 30%. All right, and let's try one of these tougher ones. Let's go ahead and try 7/8. Okay, 7 out of 8. You did pretty good, right? You got 7 points out of 8 total. So it wasn't 100%, but it also was not 7%. And why not? Because it's not out of 100 yet. So here, why is this one considered more difficult? Well, because this one I was able to see 50 times 2 is 100. Here I was able to see 10 times 10 is 100. Off the top of your head, is 8 times a whole number going to be 100? Let's see, 8 times 10 is 80. 8 times 11 is 88. I'm getting closer. 8 times 12 is 96. 8 times 13 is 104. So 8 was too little, or 12 was too little, 13 a little too much. So it's somewhere between 12 and 13. So it's not a whole number. So how do you do it when it's not a whole number? Well, you guys, you've done this before last semester. We have a proportion and we need to solve it. There's not a whole number relationship happening here, horizontally or vertically, so we have to resort to algebra. So to figure out this unknown value, how do we get rid of division by 100? Do the inverse operation, multiply by 100. On both sides, I'm going to multiply by 100. So if I do that, these two things are inverses of each other, so they go away. I'm left with what I want, and 7 over 8 times 100, and 100 is a fraction, 100 over 1. I could cross reduce. These both go into 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. So when I multiply across, 7 times 25, 5, 3, 14, 15, 17, 175 over 2 times 1, which is 2. And you know I'm not done because this is improper. So 175 divided by 2. Doing this division correctly, this is just you doing straight up division. 2 goes into 17 8 times. 2 goes into 15 7 times. And I am left over with 1. I would attach my decimal at this point, but I'm going to make it a mixed number. So my percent, what I was solving for, would be 87. I'm going to write it up here. 87, and what did I have left over? 1 out of what I was dividing by, 2%. So 7 out of 8 would be equivalent to 87.5%, or 87.5. Okay, let's look at it another way. Let's look at decimals. Okay, decimals. If we have decimals and we want to make them into percents, remember, percent is out of 100, and if we go to a decimal place, what number is in the hundredths place? Because that's what we want. That's what's going to be equivalent to the percent. So we need to know how many hundredths are sitting there. And in this case, 0.57, 7 is in the hundredth spot. That's 2 places after the decimal point. So I can say this right here is worth 57 out of 100, because that's the hundredths place, which would be 57%. So 0.57 is the same thing as 57%. Another one up here that's already ready to go. 0.09. 0.09. 9 is in the hundredth spot. This would be read 9 hundredths, meaning that this is equivalent to 9%. Okay? Now these other three are a little different, because if we look at 0.6, you might say, okay, well that's 6/10. We need the hundredth spot. Well, what is sitting here if nothing's there? A 0 that we just don't write, we just leave it out. So 0.6 is actually worth 60 hundredths, which is the same thing as 60%. Okay, these two left in the middle. Which number in this case, 0.375, which number is in the hundredth spot? The 7. So in this case, I do not have 375 hundredths. I actually have 375 thousandths, okay? But if I just stop it right there, that's where I'm going to put my decimal. I have 37.5 hundredths, meaning that this is equivalent to 37.5%. And the last one here, what percent that would be? Well, I'm going to go to the hundredth spot, which is in between those two fives, and I don't just have 15 hundredths, I have 15.5 hundredths. So this would be 15.5%. Okay, and that is a quick introduction to percents, where percents are always out of 100 and they are in the hundredths spot when we look at the decimal equivalent. So that again was on fractions, decimals, and percents. Oh my! You can do this. We'll practice in class.